Surely many of us, or at least our mothers, have devoted a lot of hours into the recipe of the cake, and we pull out this from the oven, and what do we see? A flop. So, total waste of time, energy, ingredients. It's the same with the Mahadasha or the major period. You had a big expectation, you thought something will come out of it, but it turns out that it was just a waste of energy and money. And when we are on the cakes, did you know that each category of cakes represents the some planets? It's according to the very ancient text, Cupcake Shastra. In fact, the mantra is very weak in Kali Yuga, so it's better to help ourselves with the cakes. So instead of 3 malas, we are doing 3 cakes daily, or if it's a retrograde, then we can even increase it to 9 cakes. Find the most afflicted planet in your chart. If it's Sun, it's lemon cake, Moon is a cheesecake, Mars, red velvet cake, Mercury is the cupcake, Jupiter is the king, so it's a king cake. Then we have the Venus, which is truffle chocolate cake. Saturn, of course, black forest cake. Rahu is a durian cake. And Ketu, quite minimalistic, simple carrot cake. If the planet is combust, it has to be with the glaze, and the number of rosens there, it has to be reflected the house in which that planet is placed. Mahadasha is us, just the wordplay. Reverse is aham, so aham means I. So in this video, I will teach you 3 rules which we are using in our parampara to understand what's really going on with the major period, with the Mahadasha, because there are many misunderstandings on the Jyotish scene. And we will be using the very interesting example of Edward Snowden. Luckily, we have the rating AA, so we have super accurate birth time, so we have his chart available for our analysis, our vivisection. And Snowden is supported by Roger Waters, Tom Morello, Björk, Noam Chomsky, Steve Woźniak, Oliver Stone, and many, many others. And the inspiration for all this comes from my Polish group. We are now on the advanced module. We are doing the 4th module. And the previous Saturday, we were discussing the Dasha 4 hours. We are discussing all these nice techniques which are enable us to understand what's going on. If you are new here, my name is Rafał Gendasz. 20 years ago, I've begun my formal study under my Guruji, V.C. Larsen, belonging to Sri Achitananda tradition. I've completed the Parashara Jaimini and Mantra Shastra course, and formally I graduated in philosophy. Now let's go to this topic at hand. So if you look closely what other astrologers are doing, they are just literally taking the lordship or placement of the Mahadasha, and they are interpreting what will happen. So just like we have in the Bible, this literal and more symbolic interpretation, just here we are going very literal. So for example, 10th Lord Sun, 6 years of clear life, and then after the Sun, Moon is coming 9th Lord, so you will have 10 years of traveling. Oh my God, it's enough. I want to stay at home. And then will come 17 years of Mercury gains, so much gains. And then 20 years when the Venus will come, losses, because it's the 12th Lord. So it doesn't work like this. And as we observe our life, is someone can say, okay, I was traveling for 20 years, or I was in that work for 10 years. But usually it happens once or twice in life, this period. But it's very hard to find these common patterns in this big period of time. So therefore, we will have completely different approach, which reflects our real life experience in much better way. So we can say that the subtle base of the Mahadasha is materializing or going to this tangible level through the sub-period of Antardasha. Not keeping you any longer, let's go to the first rule. It's about the moon sign. We can give some allegory of some culture, lifestyle, or vibe, which will allow or even invite some elements and will not be welcoming or will be forbidden other elements. So that will be our reference points from which we can judge which Mahadasha will be generally good or which Mahadasha will not be so auspicious. So it's very easy. Let's say you have a moon in Libra. Then what is exalted in Libra? Saturn. What is having the own sign in Libra? Venus. So Saturn and Venus, these planets will be, these Mahadashas will be very good. These periods will be super for you. You will have a lot of comforts. You will have very nice, easy life, we could say. Whilst for those planets like Sun, which are debilitated, then these Mahadashas can be hard. So this rule was so close, it's so easy that we may think how we could omit that, but this is also very effective. This rule is showing if the dasha will be generally good or favorable or not very auspicious. It's like the part of the city which are favoring different political positions, like in some parts of the city, especially in the big cities, it is very much divided. So you can see, oh, this is supporting this right-wing parties. So in this part of the city, some propaganda or some political statements will be very much invited, whilst in other part of the city, this will be totally forbidden and not accepted. So similarly, based on that sign, some Mahadashas will be accepted and some will be inauspicious. And you can imagine if we keep the moon in the Aries, then it will be totally different. The Sun Mahadasha would be very, very welcome, and the Saturn Mahadasha will not be so favorable. It may seem too easy, so wait for the another two, then we'll be analyzing the example of Snowden. Now again, something very easy, Mahadasha and the Antardasha. Is the Antardasha supporting Mahadasha? So the Mahadasha will have some agenda, and the Antardasha, if it's in Kendra or Trikona, well placed, then it will support whatever the Mahadasha is giving. If it's in the Dushtana, in the Maranakarkastana, in the Badaka, or generally bad also Sambandha between the planets, then we can say that the Antardasha will not favor whatever the Mahadasha is pushing. The agenda of Mahadasha will be not liked, will not be agreed upon. This is showing how the big project of Mahadasha is supported or not by the Antardasha. And all of these rules you can use in the Navamsha and other Vargas. So we are very flexible here. Then the last thing for regulars, you already heard this probably on this or my colleague's channel, the Anubhava. This is calculated from Mahadasha to Antardasha, and you are calculating the same distance from the sub-period or the Antardasha. This is showing the experience or the external situation. So finally we have something external, tangible, not only the psychologized, subjective things where we can justify everything. Finally, we are going to something solid. Okay, so now let's go to the example. We have Edward Snowden, and he had two such turning points in his life. The first one in which he was fired from CIA. He first joined the army, then very quickly he advanced into this Rahu type of services for the country. But because he was going too far, he was too curious, he was leaking the documents, then he was fired from the CIA. I can imagine that this could be a big thing for him. And then, of course, he disclosed all of these documents. It was 250,000, I think, in one, as a one part. And this was all given to a few newspapers. This was in 2013. Then he fled to Hong Kong and then to Russia to get this permanent residency. So this is basically what's going on. Also, very important thing, after the CIA, when he was fired, he was working for some time as a contractor. So maybe the 9th house in the Dashansa was working as a contract job for the NSA. And this was also security or very much high tech, and he was high profile worker there. So basically he was meeting with very high profile people in that tech security. So he had access to very, we could say, secret documents. And in that work, in that time, he leaked all those documents. And of course, from his perspective, he was working for the people, Saturn exalted in the Libra. So we can see high ideals, working for equality. He has so that there is a lot of exploitation from the government power, and he couldn't hide it. When he get access to such information, he couldn't hide it. So he decided, probably risking his life, to publish those things. So the first Dasha before 2010, when he was making such big advancement in career life, it was a Venus Dasha. So Venus for Libra is very nice. Therefore, this brought him a lot of success. He was very much recognized, big promotions, probably also good pay. Everything is going nice. Venus is in some Parivartana, so we could see that there could be some changes, but ultimately it's for his own personal comfort is nothing super bad yet. And the whole problem started after 2010, namely in the 2013, and the Dasha already switched to the Sun. So you can see there is a big difference when we take this Libra or Tula reference point. Venus is quite nice, Sun is very problematic because it's debilitated in Libra. So you can see the problem. The Shani is exalted, so it's high ideals working for the equality. You can also here see the relativity of ethics, because for the Guardian called him the man of the year, whilst in the US he is threatened for the 30 years. For each so-called crossing of this law, it was 10 years of jail. So you can see this total polarization of how his life can be seen by the public. Now the second point, we are analyzing the Mahadasha and Antardasha. So the good time was Venus-Saturn. Saturn is in Kendra, exalted, very nicely placed. We could argue here, exalted Kendra Lord in Dushtana, malefic, is not good, because it's too idealistic to protect himself, and that is exactly what happened. If you see his chart, he has also Ketu in same situation, 7th Lord in 8th house, exalted malefic. So too idealistic, and therefore high ideals, but with the price. Otherwise, Saturn 6 has the best placement called Amrita Drishti. Sun is aspecting Aruda Lagna, working for government. You can also see in Navamsha and Dashamsa, there are strong yogas. We have Rahu Mercury, because he was like a coder. He was into research and this CIA thing. So these planets are very strongly. Even in the Trikona Navamsha, we have Mercury, Mars, and Rahu. In Venus and Mercury, he was traveling to Switzerland when he was also doing some espionage, we could say. Mercury is in a Badaka from Venus. So in Mercury, Antardasha, where you are going with all of these 250,000 printed papers, I'm going to newspaper to publish those things. Is there any problem there? So you can imagine he was fired by the CIA, and Mercury is in the 3rd Lord and with the 8th Lord Rahu in Dashamsa in chart of work. So there is always this connection to this pair of houses in the time of ending or being fired. So it's very nice Mercury. It has Digbala in the 1st house, in Navamsha. He is fighting for the true, but 3rd from Aruda Lagna, so benefics there could be a little bit too idealistic. The problems of this chart are all in the same category. Probably the CIA should hire some Jyotish and see, oh, this guy is, because they saw, oh, he's very good hacker. Let's make him the ethical, so-called ethical hacker. And it's better to have him on our side. But they didn't show him that he has too many exalted planets in the bad placement and the benefics in 3rd from Aruda Lagna. This could form a problem from their agenda perspective. Now the fun part, or the fleeing time, it was in the Sun and Jupiter. So the Sun is supporting the 10th Lord in the 2nd. We have this Simhasana Yoga. There's the Mars work, aspecting Aruda Lagna. So there is this technical jobs in Gemini, very strong communication and coding, language is engaged very strongly. The Sun is also very promoting in the Gemini those activities, but Jupiter is in 6th house, so it's not supporting this job or this work. And how he's not supporting? By publishing, making something open, because that is the nature of first 7, and especially the Jupiter is having a Vakri retrograde, so the effect is on the Lagna. So there is a big desire for the truth, and Jupiter is the Satya Karaka. So there was one talk of some senator when he was really caught, or at least to him it was very clear that he was lying to the public, and this thing was too much for him. He couldn't contain himself, and he had to reveal all of these papers. So that happened in Sun Jupiter, and Jupiter, of course, must be in the 12th from Karakamsha, so therefore this jail time is the threat, and in the Dashamsa it's also in the 4th house, so it's like blockage to the career life. And of course this is all in the variation, because in the Vimshotri, Moon Vimshotri, which is showing the general public, it was Saturn and Rahu, so it is very nicely reflecting the whole storm, the fleeing, because Rahu is in 12th house in the Dashamsa, so he's fleeing because of the career life, and all of the problems are the Vayu, the storm is there, but what he's thinking, what are his reaction, what he's doing in that storm, what are his motives, this is all variation perspective. So this part of the clock will show this part of his life, and therefore the Sun Jupiter is showing what he is really doing, what are his thoughts, and this will reflect also on his action. Okay, now let's go to the 3rd point, the last one, Anubhava. The regular on this channel already knows what we are doing, so we need to count the same distance from the Mahadasha to Antardasha, and we are again analyzing these 3 events in his life. Venus-Saturn, when he got his best years of life when it comes to career life, when he started the career life. Venus, Saturn, the Anubhava is going to the 9th house, like Yoga, Karaka, 10th Lord, 9th house for Venusian signs. The Saturn is the best planet. And we can see in the 6th, Amrita Drishti. But it's already a problem because the Saturn is a Kendra, malefic, exalted Lord in the Dushtana. And Ketu is 7th Lord, also Kendra Lord, in the 8th house, malefic also. So he has two such, we could say, red flags from the perspective of being employed by the CIA. So these people should really hire some Jyotisha to first analyze, is this person too clean? Is there too much empathy, too much spiritual yogas? Mercury in the 3rd from Arudha Lagna, too many exalted planets. He will rather use all of this technical knowledge for some kind of idealistic means, like reveal something or protect the society. Saturn exalted, always protect, fights for the equality. So he couldn't contain himself, and he worked for that part of his soul. Then we have this Venus Mercury. This is now going, the Anubhava is going to the 11th house, right? 11 is all about ending the work. So in Venus Mercury, he was fired. And this was again because of Jupiter, right? He wanted to, we could say Jupiter is like a Cancer. So he expanded too much. There were some top secret files he couldn't have access, but he still tried to see what's going on. It was like the leakage of this document, that was what it was like a trailer to what will happen in the Jupiter Sun. So in Jupiter Sun, the Anubhava now is going to the 12th house. So now he has to flee. Now it's like a war. It's like a fight. It's a big, we could say, thing, right? The Taurus is the natural Dharma Karma Dipati Yoga, because 9th and 10 is loaded by the same Saturn. So we can see how this external experience is really activated the 12th house of fleeing or going away to the Hong Kong, interestingly Mars related, and then to Russia. So I hope with these 3 rules you will get additional tools in your toolbox to navigate in those labyrinths of Jyotish. So we were discussing moon sign, distance, following or going against the agenda, and the Anubhava principle. So if you like this video, please don't forget to hit a thumbs up, subscribe, because we are publishing here at least once a week. Join our Discord community. We have already more than 100 members. Consider also booking the course if you're into Jyotish. The details are in the description. For the one-on-one reading when we are discussing your chart, timing, Vargas, remedies, yogas, then hit me up with this email and we can schedule the consultation for you. That was Mahadasha, but what about Antardasha? There must also be some secret tips. So please watch this video here.